Very, very good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to yet another very, very exciting episode of Leaders Podium powered by Shiftz. And today I have a very special person with me joining in today. Today I have a friend and also an industry veteran when it comes to hospitality, learning, and skilling. Please welcome Mr. Ajay Handa, founder and CEO of Devo Edutech. Ajay welcome so much, and thank you for joining me on my podcast today. It's a pleasure to have you on board. Uh, a little background about Ajay. Apart from being the founder and CEO at Devo, he also has been a hospitality professional for last 25 years. So he's somebody who understands this industry from inside out. And I think what you are doing at Devo also, and which we'll speak about more in detail, is fabulous. At Devo, what Ajay is solving is basically bridging the skilling gap of the industry by using high technology so that it becomes customizable, it becomes personalized, and it becomes on the go learning for everyone. And I think that is just the need of the hour for what you're doing. And I'm so excited to have you and learn so much more about Devo and your journey, what you have been doing, what you're planning to do. So a big, big thank you and a big welcome to you, and looking forward to this podcast. Thank you so much.
Hi, Rachit. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I think that it's a great honor for me to be here. And I see a lot of alignment between what you're doing at Shift and what we intend to do with Devo. So
Yeah,
the actual pronunciation of the brand is Devo. It is
Devo.
inspired by Atithi Devo Bhava. So that is how Devo. That's
Wow,
our learning platform for the hospitality industry. So I'm
wonderful.
equally excited to be here, Rachit. Looking forward to this session. I'm
Awesome,
sure it's
awesome.
going to be
Let's get
insightful.
this party started there. Great. So, first and foremost, you have been a hospitality professional, a hardcore hospitality professional. How come technology? How come skilling? How come like leaving the main industry and becoming a service provider or a channel partner to this industry? So, how come that transition happened?
Okay, while I must tell you that I still am very actively involved with hospitality as a business, that is my core business. But over the years, I have seen the challenges that this industry has gone through. Primarily, finding the right kind of workforce, the right fit for your property, or the right fit for the jobs that the industry has to offer. It's so difficult. Have you seen the rate of attrition
Oh,
in the
yeah.
industry today?
Trust
It's
me, I
out of the,
know. Yeah,
it's
it's
like go through
crazy.
the roof.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy. And what we've become is, what I didn't like was that we turned out into becoming a kind of a training school. So
Hmm.
we would train employees with skills, and they would be mercilessly poached by our competition.
Absolutely.
And I had to redo the entire thing again. And there had to be a better way of doing things.
Hmm.
That is what led me to get into a lot of thinking. I spoke to a lot of industry experts and tried to come up with a solution to this.
Hmm.
And thankfully, we came up with an idea which will work. And I'll be happy to discuss that over the session that we have today.
Absolutely. It's so inspiring to see how you transition to this particular role. And I have not even like a scent of doubt that it will not work because I have personally used it. I have seen the kind of platform which you're building it. Also, the kind of challenges which are there in the industry are this platform is it's so apt for it. Because as you said, this industry has one of the highest attrition rates. Skilling, training, retraining becomes an integral part of it because it's something where you're always dealing in with customers, and customers also now have changed so much that their patience levels have gone down. Their expectations are always so for platforms like yours, you always also have to be continuously evolving, seeing in what's happening globally, how you can adapt your training here and everything. Which leads to my first question, actually, Ajay, was that can you discuss some of the current challenges or the gaps which you see in hospitality industry right now, and how traditional training methods and content is failing to meet those needs?
Sure. Rachit, as you know, our industry, the hospitality industry, is it's incredibly dynamic,
Yeah.
and it's evolving rapidly. And also, unfortunately, the traditional training
Hmm.
hasn't quite kept up.
Yeah.
So a significant gap exists between what is taught in the hospitality institute and the actual skills that are needed on the ground.
Hmm.
Now, this is primarily due to outdated training methods.
Hmm.
There is a huge disconnect between the educational institutions, what they're teaching, and what the industry really needs.
Yeah.
This has led to a huge lack of, this is also compounded by a huge lack of upskilling opportunities for existing employees in the industry.
Hmm.
And I must tell you that this is particularly evident in areas today like digital literacy.
Yeah.
Personalized guest experiences are really big today. It's pretty evident over there. And all other aspects where rapid advancements have outpaced the curriculum updates.
Yeah.
So that I think is primarily the reason for the skill gap.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you know, this industry, especially post-COVID, the kind of growth which we are seeing, both in the domestic, international, inbound, outbound, every sort of market is crazy, right? And I would also say, or I would take the liberty to say that hospitality industry has also grown in the kind of verticals within the industry. So now hospitality professionals are not only associated with hotels or high-end restaurants. Recently we got a client who runs high-end residential apartments. All their guest facing staff are from hospitality backgrounds. And so because those are the kind of people, and even some high-end office complexes, their front office staff and everything are all ex hospitality trained professionals. So they're just continuing their journey. So this and the kind of numbers which we are seeing, the kind of growth which we are seeing in India, tier 2, tier 3, everywhere. I think the next few years are, the demand and supply gap in hospitality industry is going to be huge. The kind of people we are needed, the kind of talent which is required, and everything. According to you, what are your views that how we can innovate training so that it meets the current demands of the industry, and how do we prepare a competent workforce around it? Because this industry without skilling, without training, is nothing. So how do you make sure you're from your experience and what you're building at Devo?
Right. This is a very valid question today, Rachit. I think that as our industry grows, you mentioned a vertical that has come out of the hospitality industry, especially with service departments.
Hmm.
So we need to also look at how the global travel there's been a huge resurgence in global travel today. There's a lot of modernization, urbanization in the country today. There's a lot of rising middle class
Yeah.
that is there today, and this has initiated a kind of a pressing need for us to overhaul our training approaches.
Hmm.
We have to overhaul
Hmm.
and an innovative or a new wave training is what I think is exactly what the doctors ordered for our industry today.
Yeah.
It's essential for us to be preparing a workforce that can handle the complexities of modern hospitality operations and the rising guest expectations.
Yeah.
In my opinion, training will have to be designed such that it provides us with very clear learning outcomes that meet our industry needs and growing standards.
Yeah. Absolutely. And one of the things which two things which you brought out really well. Firstly was that you start of the conversation you had mentioned that there is a huge gap between what is being taught and what they face on ground, because you can probably prepare them for any kind of challenges or any kind of role which can come along. But since we're dealing with so many different guests and such high expectations, I think there is not enough training which can be done on how do you manage or exceed customers expectations, right? Because I think pehle in earlier days, it was okay, like customers used to pass on out a lot of things and everything. That eye of perfection wasn't really there, because the options to for us was also limited. Right now, we are all very well traveled, we are very well exposed, we have very low patience, we want the moon for the rupee which we are spending, and also it's become so expensive to go out that we obviously want a good service, right? So all this included, right? I would believe that there is a lot of skill differences, or there's a skill gap which what the market is needing right now, and what is being provided to the current workforce through these training partners and everything. So how do you think we can actually prepare a workforce which is, tuned to the rising customer expectations? Because because I would say they are changing overnight. Every fortnight there is a change which is happening, or even sooner. And in last few years we have seen the kind of dietary requirements people have now, the kind of intolerances they have. I was recently dining at one of the five stars in Delhi, and we were a group of six people, and trust me, four out of those six had a dietary requirement or a dietary restriction. Somebody was on keto, somebody was on gluten free, somebody was lactose intolerant, multiple things happening. So, and I was actually this thing that after even mentioning so much times, they actually goofed up two of the orders, and one of them was suffering from a very serious condition, that anything which is served to them, which they can't consume, can be fatal for them. So that was started thinking me that, okay, they were taught this, but how are you reskilling them? How are you grooming them? How are you putting them in this thing? Because A, it's to serve a customer, and B, is it to serve the customer in the manner they asked for. So it's not about just serving the food, but yes, I asked for this thing. How do you take care of? So how do you think this is going to go about from now on?
Yeah, Rachit, I agree with you. I think that what we need to address over here first is that guests don't mind paying, for expensive
Yeah.
service. They don't mind paying at all. But then the catchword here is they want value for their money.
Hmm.
That is what is important today. And the current workforce in our industry sadly lacks the skills that are necessary for today's requirement.
Yeah.
So today, if you look at most of the hospitality workforce, they often enter the field underprepared for the realities of the job. Now,
Hmm.
this is going to take some explanation. Okay, so you'll have to allow
Yeah.
me a little time to
Please.
explain this
All
or
ears.
express this. I want to elucidate this with some facts, some data. You know that the existing learning curriculum in our hospitality institutes, you'll be surprised to know this, was last updated more than what, 35 years ago.
Really?
So, in a sense, what we are doing is we are preparing our future workforce to enter the industry armed with outdated training methods.
Seriously?
Yes.
It's like leaving
Let me
soldiers
give
on
you
a
an insight
battlefield with sticks.
yes. Let me give you an insight into our current situation
Yeah.
and also point out to you why this is very alarming for us.
Hmm.
Now, India has approximately 54,000 hotels. Okay, out of which less than 3,000 hotels form part of a brand or chain like the Taj, the Oberois, the Royal Orchid, the Park, the Sarovars. So less than 3,000 of the 54,000 are part of some chains. Why this number is important for us to understand, Rachit, is that these hotels, which are owned or operated by branded chains, have some kind of a platform to train, onboard, and upskill their workforce. Okay. Now, this still leaves us with more than 50,000 hotels in the country
Wow.
that do not necessarily have access to or have any access to updated learning content or any training platform. To further drive this point, for you to understand the sheer numbers, India has 70 lakh registered restaurants,
Wow.
and most of them are reeling under really high rates of attrition and lack of trained manpower.
Yeah.
Our country today, we employ a workforce, the hospitality and the tourism industry put together, we employ a workforce of 3 crore 90 lakh professionals,
Wow.
which is about 8% of India's total employment.
Yeah.
But you'll be surprised to know that of the 3 crore 90 lakh hospitality and tourism professionals, less than 10% have any hospitality based academic background, which
Really?
means less than 10% have a graduate degree from an IHM or from any kind of certification from
Wow.
any training institute. Of all the 10%, which have some kind of an academic background. Now, this again is important for you, Rachit.
Yeah.
Only 12% are employable. And this is primarily due to the outdated content that exists in our educational setup. Most of the training, so if you forget the 10% of the guys who have some kind of training, most of the training that is available to our workforce, the people working in hotels, in restaurants all across the country, this training is all supervisor led training, is what we call it. That they're palmed off to the supervisor who is asked to simply train them on the job.
Yeah.
Now, this kind of training over the years, Rachit, has deteriorated. Okay, the supervisor has his own insecurities. He's not going to teach everything that he knows. So over the years, this has come down to such a dismal level that that fundamental skills in the industry are lacking. So I hope you get the whole picture about the real challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real challenge is that for us to be able to bridge this gap, our training needs to be holistic.
Yeah.
We've got to blend soft skills like communication. We need to bring in empathy.
Yeah.
And we need to blend this with hard skills like tech proficiency today. Today, the integration of tech into hospitality is at its peak.
Yeah.
But having said all this, more than ever, I feel that training must be responsive to the diverse roles that exist in our industry.
Yeah.
So this is what I have to say to to addressing the skill gap. We need to bring in the right kind of training platforms which can understand the requirement of majority of our workforce. The majority of the workforce is not highly educated. These are people who simply working in the industry through supervisor-led training. These are the people who need to be taught the right kind of the new content needs to be put out there for them to understand, accept, and deliver.
Absolutely.
That is what is important, and how we do it, we'll talk about it. Maybe we'll talk about this in our session ahead.
Actually, that's where I was coming from, right? Because I have spoken to a lot of educationists before, people in scaling and everything, right? And usually when it comes to hospitality, right, the first thing which comes to anybody's mind is that the training needs to be a physical training, right? Because what do you associate with hospitality? You associate when you associate cooking with hospitality, right? You associate housekeeping with hospitality. Okay, guest relations are a part of it, which I think can easily be done online, but these are the two more complex sort of a thing, right? And when you thought about building Devo, right? So how come you chose the technology line and not the traditional offline methods where you will set up a school or a campus and skill the people in front of you? How come you chose a non-traditional line? Because also with the little experience I have working in the hospitality sector, although it's a great sector, great people here, but also I think and I feel that it's a little closed door when it comes to adapting of new ideas, right? The professionals are trained in a way that they will never say no, because that's what the hospitality training does. But yes, they will also not take a new idea forward, and that's some of the challenges which we faced at Shiftz as well. So how do you see, or so basically I have three questions. How come you chose technology over traditional methods? What are the kind of
Okay.
platforms now you are building to cater to this, and how are you going about? That's my third question to you. How are you going about your go-to-market strategy in convincing both the hotels and the people at ground that this is what you need? Because I personally am a big fan of something which can be delivered to me via my mobile phone or my laptop at my own convenient time. I am not a person who wants to sit in classrooms and do that. So I think I'm a big fan and see a huge uptake on that, but would love to know from you.
Good point, Rachit. And I think that we all have, this is one of the greatest takeaways from COVID for all of us, is that we've embraced technology. We've embraced the option of learning through via a digital medium. I have tried everything under the sun to ensure that the employees or the workforce at my properties get the right kind of training. We brought in professionals from everywhere to try and train them with the skills that were needed, but we felt that the retention was very poor. And in case of supposing if you have a an employee base of 100 people working at a hotel, maybe 70 would turn up for the offline training classes that were being, then half of them would be sleeping off. There's no way to assess whether they've really learned something of value. And I felt that I was putting in such a lot of money year on year in trying to train the workforce, but to no avail. So after COVID, we realized that there exists a different medium for us now, and technology offers us that branch for us to go out and leverage this, not just to 100 people, but to 100,000 people.
Absolutely.
We could reach that. Today, the LMS platform that we are working with has potential for us to bring in 500,000 people learning at the same time.
Wow.
So we could never imagine this. The platform that we are developing, Rachit, is a video led lesson. These are basically video led lessons,
Okay.
short bite-sized videos, maybe 3 or 4 minutes each, which break down every process or every skill into a simple story. So I believe that kinesthetic learning, even if you have an uneducated guy who is the junior most frontline worker in your housekeeping or in your F&B service, he could watch this video and understand what is it that his job is all about, what is the process that he needs to follow. And we're making it simpler for him or for her by offering this to him in a choice of multiple languages. So can you imagine us reaching out to somebody who is from the north part of India? I'm not making any discrimination here, but if I teach him if this lesson is delivered to him in Hindi, his internalization and his understanding of the process becomes complete. He understands it perfectly. We want to do that at the end of the module. Supposing he goes through these 10 lessons, at the end of the module, we have an assessment for him wherein we assess his understanding of the learning. So that makes it so simple for him. I think that technology can transform training in the hospitality industry, not just because by enabling its scalability. I think that we can be consistent. We can have highly engaging learning experiences that provide learners with practical. Now, this is a hands-on experiences, right, for them to learn. And I believe that this approach using technology not only makes the learning processes more effective, but they're significantly more accessible to wider audiences.
Yeah.
Now, Devo, I told you, our platform we use cutting edge technology to create this video content.
Yeah.
It has interactive modules that cater to various learning styles. So today, what is important is, and this is with my talks or discussions that have taken place with so many industry experts, they're still questioning whether video-based learning can be a great medium for us to deliver training. And what I learned out of it was that it needs to offer them a kind of a blended learning. So our video lessons should break down complex processes into simple, I told you, simple, easy to understand stories. And they have an opportunity to understand it, internalize it before applying them in their real world scenarios.
Absolutely.
So, basically, technology, I think, it facilitates the customization of learning paths today. We can focus on specific skills that they need to improve or learn from scratch, which traditional training method, they lack the flexibility that this has to offer. But the biggest point or the biggest thing about technology, about incorporating technology, is that analytics or the real-time feedback, which our platform, we can ensure that each learner's progress is monitored effectively.
Mm.
We can allow for adjustments. We can also have targeted interventions to each employee that can enhance their learning
Yeah,
experience. We discussed about this earlier, but I think that this is what is the greatest gift of bringing in technology. And I think tailored
absolutely.
approaches will not only boost our learner engagement, but it'll also significantly improve the knowledge retention, because that is one of the major issues which I pointed out earlier,
100%.
and the application of this knowledge.
100%.
So
100%.
in a sense, we are preparing a more competent workforce to meet the evolving demands of our hospitality industry.
Absolutely. And I think, somewhere videos and, sound, audio has a much more lasting impression on our minds as well. So you probably wouldn't remember what you read 10 years ago, but you would 100% remember your favorite movie you saw that, right? You would remember the songs, you'd remember the dialogues, you would remember the sequence. So I think visually what you see something, and that's, I think, brilliantly what you're doing. And talking about adaptability, I know so many people, who became engineers during the COVID time just by online education, which is a much more complex thing to do. So I think we can definitely create some fine, hospitality professionals from an online this thing platform. And wanted to ask you at Devo, what are the different kind of within hospitality? What are the different kind of verticals you are catering to or planning to cater to, or is it focused on one particular vertical within the hospitality field?
I'm glad you asked me this question, Rachit, because this is something that I've been trying to tell to people. It's not, I think that the kind of learning that we want to provide through Devo is not just restricted to the traditional facets or verticals of hospitality. It's not just about front office. It's not just about F&B, kitchen, bartending, or housekeeping. I think that we need to move a step forward. What we are doing, in fact, is, let me ask you this question. Do you know how to work on a fire extinguisher, Rachit? Have you ever worked on it?
Unfortunately, I had to. There was a fire at my house, so there was a small fire one, which
Okay, sorry
but
to hear about that, but you will be surprised to know, Rachit, that more than 95% of hospitality professionals, including five stars, do not know how to operate a fire extinguisher, a simple fire extinguisher. And at during crunch time, when it comes to using the fire
yeah,
extinguisher
yeah,
to douse out a fire, you don't have the time to go through the
yeah, yeah,
instructions,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So I'm talking about the very basic thing which every hospitality professional needs to be
Mm,
in the know-how of.
yeah,
So we want to come up with a lesson, which three video lessons that will teach, that will certify you as a fire that that is certified fire safety expert. So while you're not going to become a
firefighter.
fireman
Yeah,
or a firefighter, but it will still give you the knowledge that requires you to take care of an
yeah,
immediate situation.
absolutely.
Likewise for CPR and first aid.
Yeah,
I think that we surrounded with so many guests. So we're a people organization. We have so many people with us. That's what we do. So we need to ensure that we know the basic skills that could make a difference in saving somebody's life.
absolutely.
Right. So these are also things that we want to do.
Yeah,
Now, one more important aspect, it's not just about training the hospitality professional, the front line or the top line. It's also about, there are so many hotel owners, there are so many restaurant owners who need to understand how they need to position themselves, or how they need to be visible on today's digital media. Google My Business is one of the simplest way for you to do it.
true.
So we are going to have the country's biggest Google My Business expert join us and roll out a kind of a little video lesson which explains to you in simple steps what you can do for to enhance your visibility,
Mm,
and in a sense enhance your bottom line.
amazing.
So many more things. We want to do communication. We want to teach you how important body language is when you
Yeah,
interact with
yeah,
guests. We want to talk to you about the basics of housekeeping, which most of the hotels, most of the restaurants do not really look into. I
yeah.
was talking to the housekeeping consultant the other day from at Bangalore, and he was talking to me about these color coded tools that are used. He says that the red code is only to be used in the guest bathrooms or in the public toilet. You don't bring that into the restaurant or into the kitchen. Good heavens, I think that we're doing all that. There are you will be surprised to see where this is being there's so much of cross contamination happening because there's nobody who can tell you what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Now, while these are being done in the five stars or in the bigger properties, in the more professionally managed properties, but like I told you earlier, 50,000 plus hotels and 70 lakh restaurants.
Wow.
They
That's where
need
the
this.
market is.
They
Yeah.
need this. That is huge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think the consumer in all these places also has become very advanced. And I think nobody wants a mishap happening at their premises. So it's better to always train, uptrain, and reskill the staff. And I think the willingness is definitely there. People want to learn these things to be better professionals. I think that just by doing an offline thing, it's very expensive and it's very time consuming, and that's the reason why people don't engage in it. And as you rightly said, there is no way of checking the absorption and how much have you learned or how much are you retaining after a few days, because again you'll have to call a consultant, get the test done and everything. Just becomes a very sort of a difficult task to achieve and to approach. Now, talking about so much about technology, right? It's very fascinating what you're building at Devo, and I think that is the future of learning. Not only for hospitality, I think the platform which you are building is amazing. It can be replicated to multiple different industries, and I'm also very thankful to you for partnering with Shiftz, and becoming our training and learning partners. And I'm very sure actually that together we can achieve some great success and also change the dynamics of how this industry functions. Because I was speaking to somebody, from a very very senior professional, HR professional for from a five-star chain, and they said the induction time for a new employee joining them is about 45 days, and there is so much training which goes on. So I was like, why can't technology bring it down to half of that time? So whatever you need to do on the job has can be done on the job, but to prepare you to do those on the job, why can't technology and a platform like Devo do that? And when I was speaking to him, continuously in my mind, Devo was running that, Devo is just solving this exact same thing. Why don't you integrate and do that? And we are uh, here today discussing about various possible synergies and scenarios. So kudos to you on building Devo. I think it's a need of the hour for various many different industries also, and I'm sure that you will be able to spread it to many more industries. I just wanted to ask you one last thing. As just this is one more question which I wanted to ask you. According to you, right? You are at the center of all this skilling action and the hospitality field and everything, and you're at the forefront of technology, skilling, learning, everything. What are your views around how this profession or how this industry is changing? How can technology be at the forefront of things? How can skilling be at the forefront of things? What are the changes which needs to be done? What is the kind of adaptation which needs to be done from hospitality sector to bring it all together? What are your views on that?
Okay, this is um, quite a quite a lot that you said. Firstly, let me thank you, Rachit. I feel that there is a lot of I really feel that working with Shift gives us the validation, has given the validation to our platform that what we're doing makes a lot of sense. And you having said so, even now, I'm really thankful to you for that. Coming to your question, I think that the way we need to adapt, the industry needs to adapt to this is very simple. Basically, we understand the need for it. We think that we need to get out of this preconceived notion in our head that training is expensive.
Yeah.
Training is not expensive. We're basically talking about ensuring that once you adapt to a consistent training system in your hotel or in your restaurant, it's going to add more value to you, to your business, to your employees, and to your bottom line.
Yeah.
Adaptive learning, if we talk about how we can create adaptive learning environments which will cater to individual learners needs, then I think that it's crucial because it
And that,
tailors.
Sorry, I think that's the need of
Each individual
adaptive
specific
learning
need.
is the need of the hour. That is brilliant.
Pardon me?
I think adaptive learning is the need of the hour. That is a brilliant
Yes,
thing
it
to
is.
do. Yeah.
It is. It is absolutely the need of the hour. Uh, what we're doing at Devo is that by customizing the learning experience, we ensure that every learner progresses at their own pace.
Yeah.
You spoke about the onboarding of, the 45-day period of onboarding every employee. I think that we can easily bring it down to a week
Wow.
or even less than that, because the learner can now understand and can internalize at his own pace, at his own place.
Hmm.
He doesn't need to be at his place of work to understand the requirements of the business to onboard him.
Yeah.
So this is something which will not only make the learning process more effective, but I think that it's important for us to make it more engaging. To
Absolutely.
give an example, today, if you look at one of the facets, which is the fastest growing facet in the hospitality industry today, Rachit, is bartending. The bartending space is really evolving, and it's a very technique forward space. One of the spaces in the hospitality industry which has tremendous potential and is really growing rapidly, and that is the bartending space.
Hmm.
Surprisingly, today bartending has really evolved. You look at all these new hole in the wall bars that have come up, but which are serving absolute stunning beverages.
Yeah.
We can finally say that the bartending space in India has arrived. But this is only restricted to the very few upper echelons of the top bars,
Hmm.
because this is such a technique forward industry, and bartending is slowly evolving. It's finding its feet within the entire industry. Do you know that there are such great techniques which are now emerging in the Indian bar space, which sadly I mean 95% of the bar or the bartenders have no idea about.
Absolutely.
So I think it's very important for us to ensure that we provide them with the right kind of exposure to what's the growth pattern for the future for them. So this is what I think the industry needs to adapt to. We're not just going to go towards the old school training methods, or we're not just doing a video out of what is being told by the curriculum that was last updated 35 years ago.
Yeah.
We are talking to the industry leaders, we're getting in new input, relevant input, and we're trying to ensure that the industry adapts to this kind of learning.
Yeah.
That is the key for us.
Absolutely. And as you rightly said about bartending, right? Although I don't promote drinking, but I'm just using that as an example because I also love drinking. So I'm just using that as an example that few years back, and as you said, most of the bars they're serving you a drink, right? Which is making you but very few bartenders are actually now mixologists, which are customizing a drink for you, right? And making a drink for you, and that's becoming an art now. And especially if you see the Indian scenario, I would say every few months we have a new spirit which is entering into the mainstream of things. So for example, now it's tequila, right? Earlier we were all having tequila as a shot. Now it's becoming a mainstream drink.
Yeah.
And just few days back, so relatable to what you were saying, I was at a very fancy bar, and in tequila, one of my favorite drinks is picante. So, we were going from one bar to another, and I ordered picante at one bar. They made it amazingly well. Went to the same standard bar next door, and the bartender said, "Sorry, I don't have it." I said, "Why can't you make it for me? Because you have all the ingredients, right? What all you need?" He was like, "Because I don't know how to make it." And I was like, "Wow, well, that's such a fancy thing. And how difficult is it to make it? Because every second, third person who is now coming in is wanting something which is a ongoing thing, right? So I think
Yes.
that is where it's coming from. Had that particular establishment adopted to a technology platform, they could have just trained those guys, because it's not that you are teaching somebody from scratch. They already know the basics. It's just upskilling on what needs to be done. And also one more thing where I think, technology platform really plays into this thing is how do you communicate a negative news to a consumer, right? I think that is, as you mentioned about communication, I feel that communication, if through a technology, because technology platform has the power of learning on its own through AI, through all those things which are now available. Like you said, our curriculum is 35 years old because nobody has the time and the effort to make it up to date. But technology has the power of self-learning through so much data which is available online. And how do you, and various scenarios can be played, various scenarios can be learned and everything, which I think can be, you know, played in a better manner. And just yesterday, I was taking my family out, my kids and my wife for dinner, and we ordered for a bread basket. And the waiters and server just came and said, so I asked the server, because we had been to the restaurant a few days back. Again, we were revisiting it, and I asked the server, can I have the bread basket? And with a very straight face, he said no. I was like, no, as in I can't have it. So he's like, no, sir, we don't have it today. So I was like, the same thing could have been communicated in a very different manner had they been taught on various scenarios. So he wasn't rude to me. He was not rude to me, but this scenario was never played to him. That how do you communicate this thing instead of being point blank? So I think I am personally, I'm such a big fan of what you're building at Devo. I think, and the great name also, how you explain the meaning of it. And I think, it is like a private tutor which is coming to your house to teach it, right? They said when you were all growing up, there used to be tuition classes, and then there used to be private tutors. So I think this is like a private tutor in your pocket, which is making you market ready and, ready for any kind of challenges which are coming your way. And Ajay, again, I'm so thankful to you for coming to my podcast today, telling us about Devo. And I think we'll have many more talks around how we are doing this, because of our partnership, how we are, building this and launching this in the market together. I'm particularly very excited for this, because I feel that this is the future of learning. This is the future of hospitality growth, and of ongoing learning, because I've spoken to so many people in the industry, and one common challenge is skilling. How do you get skilled people? How do you get trained people? And how do you validate their training? How do you validate their knowledge and their learning capability? At the end of it, I would just like to say a big thanks to you. Thank you for coming to my podcast today, and enlightening us all about what you are building at Devo, about the kind of platform you're building, the kind of challenges you're solving. So yeah, Ajay, I think it was a very exciting episode, and personally for me, learning a lot about Devo, what your thoughts are about this entire scaling and technology piece, how you're merging. Second, sorry. Yeah. So and how you're merging everything together, and I'm pretty excited for the future which we hold together on this. So thank you so much for coming and taking all the time. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it as well, Rachit. I think that this is a good thing we've got going with the Leaders Podium, and I too am very thankful to you for the time and the opportunity. I'm sure that there are happy days ahead for Shiftz as well as for Devo, of course. So thank you once again.
Absolutely. Looking forward. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Take care.
yeah. Bye bye.